When philanthropy stops helping people and starts helping power. Let me start with something important. Yes, generosity is supposed to be a good thing. Yes, donating money can change lives. Yes, many charities genuinely help people. But what happens when charity becomes a tool of power instead of a tool of service? Because over the past few decades, modern philanthropy has quietly transformed into something else entirely. Something far more political, far more strategic, and far more dangerous to real societal progress than most people realize. This video is not about hating rich people. It is not about saying no one should donate. And it is not about denying that some good comes from charitable giving. This is about asking a question we are not encouraged to ask. At what point does charity stop being generosity and start becoming a substitute for democracy? The Billionaire Rewrite of doing good. A few months ago, Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla quietly changed the direction of their charitable efforts. They moved away from funding social programs and public-facing initiatives and redirected their focus toward what they described as AI-powered biology, research that could potentially extend human lifespan. Now, on the surface, that sounds impressive, futuristic, ambitious. But let's be honest. A billionaire tech executive whose company is already investing tens of billions into AI, publicly entertaining the idea of living forever, deciding that this is now the most important charitable cause on Earth, and should make people uncomfortable. Not because research is bad, but because this kind of giving reveals a deeper problem. Charity is increasingly shaped by the personal interests, obsessions, and long-term advantages of the wealthy, not by public need. And the consequences of that shift are enormous. Charity is no longer democratic. Here's a reality most people don't fully grasp. Charitable giving has become more unequal than wealth itself. Decades ago, the majority of charitable donations came from ordinary households. People giving small amounts to churches, schools, hospitals, food banks, and community programs. Today, that is no longer the case. A massive share of charitable funding now comes from a tiny fraction of ultra-wealthy individuals, often routed, through foundations and entities they personally control. This creates a fundamental problem. When charities depend on millions or billions from a single donor, they are no longer accountable to communities. They are accountable to taste. And taste can change overnight. When a billionaire decides a cause is no longer interesting, entire programs can collapse instantly, even if they were essential. We've already seen this happen. Schools closed, programs vanished, communities displaced, not because the need disappeared, but because a donor's priorities shifted. That is not stability. And that is not how essential services should function. The taxpayer is still paying just indirectly. This is where things get uncomfortable. Every major tax-deductible donation reduces government revenue. That means fewer public funds for healthcare, infrastructure, education, and welfare. So when a billionaire donates to a private foundation and gets a massive tax deduction, the public is still paying just without any democratic oversight. Let's be clear. If a school for underprivileged children is important enough to exist, then it is important enough to be publicly funded. Public funding means stability, accountability, oversight, long-term planning. Private charity means volatility, personal discretion, zero public control, sudden collapse. Charity is not replacing government inefficiency. It is often replacing government responsibility. Foundations as power structures. Many people still imagine foundations as benign entities, quietly doing good work. In reality, modern foundations often function like private investment firms, political influencers, research gatekeepers, reputation management tools. Some foundations fund policy debates, shape education systems, influence scientific research priorities, steer public narratives, quietly lobby without being labeled as lobbyists. And unlike governments, they are not elected. They are not voted out. They are not required to serve everyone. This is not generosity. This is governance without consent. The OpenAI problem. Nowhere is this clearer than in the world of technology. OpenAI began as a nonprofit, funded with tax-deductible donations, claiming to work in the interest of humanity. Today, it operates as a complex hybrid structure with a for-profit core, private investors, equity incentives, and shareholder value discussions. This isn't an isolated case. It is a blueprint. Here's the playbook. Fund early research through nonprofit donations. Enjoy tax deductions and positive PR. Develop potentially valuable technology. Shift it into a for-profit structure. Capture the upside privately. If the research fails, donors still win through deductions. If it succeeds, donors win massively through ownership, licensing, or influence. This turns philanthropy into risk-free venture capital. And that is a problem. Charity should not be a backdoor business strategy. Technically, nonprofits are not supposed to benefit donors directly. But modern corporate structuring makes that rule easy to bypass. Research can be licensed. Talent can be hired away. IP can be transferred. Control can be maintained indirectly. The public funds the risk. The private sector captures the reward. That is not philanthropy. That is arbitrage. ERT culture and the illusion of public good. Art donations are another perfect example. Art valuation is subjective. That makes it ideal for manipulation. A wealthy donor can buy art cheaply, promote it through funded institutions, inflate its value, donate it at a vastly higher appraisal, receive massive tax deductions. This is not about supporting culture. It is about converting money into tax advantages and legacy branding. Museums become storage units for wealth. Culture becomes an accounting strategy. Why this matters more than ever? You might ask, even if the system is flawed, isn't some good better than none? That question misses the real danger. The danger is not individual bad actors. The danger is normalization. When society accepts that, billionaires decide research priorities. Private donors shape education policy. Foundations replace public institutions. Charity substitutes taxation. Then democracy erodes quietly. Not with violence, not with censorship, but with applause. The real cost of charity. Every dollar deducted is a dollar not spent collectively. Charity is not free money. It is redirected money. And when redirected without accountability, it can deepen inequality, delay systemic reform, protect existing power structures, create dependency instead of resilience. So what's the solution? This is the part people usually skip. But solutions exist. 1. Cap tax deductions. There should be limits on how much influence one donor can gain through tax-advantaged giving. Generosity should not scale into governance. 2. Increase transparency. Foundations and donor-controlled entities should disclose decision-making, publish outcomes, show public benefit metrics. 3. Separate research from ownership. Publicly funded or tax-advantaged research should not be privately monopolized. If the public funds the risk, the public should share the reward. 4. Strengthen public institutions. Charity should supplement government, not replace it. Essential services should never depend on personal taste. 5. Normalize taxation again. Paying taxes is not failure. It is participation. A functioning society does not rely on generosity. It relies on structure. Final thought. Charity should be about helping people live better lives now, not helping a few people live forever later. It should serve the many, not the interests of the few. It should strengthen democracy, not quietly replace it. Because when charity becomes power, and power becomes unaccountable, progress stops being progress. And that is how money works.